was 20, living alone on the ground floor of an apartment building. My living room window faces a small parking lot for the building, which wasn't gated. I'd stay up late, watching TV or playing games almost every night. It was winter when I first moved in, so I'd have the blinds down at night to help keep the cold air out. Summer came and there was no AC for the apartment, so I'd open the window and blinds at night for cold air. One night, I'm lying on the couch watching TV when I get that feeling of being watched. I look over at the window and a man had his hands and face pressed against the screen, merely 3 feet from where I was lying, just watching me. I let out a blood-curdling scream and he did not even blink. Terrified, I jumped up, grabbed the phone, and screamed that I was calling the cops. He still just stood there, completely motionless and dead-eyed. At that point, I yelled at him that I'm getting the neighbor and started walking to the door, and he finally took off. I locked the window and stayed up all night, completely on edge. My boyfriend at the time came over and stayed for a full week. He made sure to leave the blinds open and sat at the edge of the couch closest to the window to make it known that I wasn't always alone. The creeper didn't show up again, so eventually I got comfortable thinking it was an isolated incident of some rando walking around the parking lot to break into cars. Maybe another 3 weeks after that, I get home late from waiting tables and park in the lot. I get changed, grab a snack, and head to the living room to play games. I started to raise the blinds to open the windows and let in some cold air, and the creeper is just standing there with his face pressed against the screen. He was not in the parking lot when I pulled in, as I parked right by my window. I can only assume he was waiting around the corner of the building, watching me come home and timing my movements. This time, I grabbed the phone and immediately called the cops. I was shaking, crying, completely hysterical. The creeper took off. Cops come and they say they'll have someone patrol the block when they can, and my boyfriend immediately comes over. He wants to stay with me until I can get out of there, so I start looking for different apartments. Another 3 to 4 weeks or so, I have an apartment lined up. My boyfriend had to go out of town for a few days, so I decided to stay at a friend's place because I certainly wasn't going to be there alone. I'm at my friend's place for 2 nights, but wanted to run home and grab a few things I'd forgotten. She goes with me for obvious reasons, and we go in the afternoon, not after dark. We decided to hang out for a bit and play games together because it's daylight and there's activity around the building. No AC, so I hesitantly raise the blinds to get fresh air. I'm terrified opening them, then laugh to myself because I can do it, and of course no one's there. I open the actual window and see 2 large holes cut into the screen, right above the latch you push to lift it. They were definitely not there 2 days ago. My blood ran entirely cold. The creeper knew my boyfriend was gone. He was watching and saw his car gone. I'd left my car there, so my friends picked me up. We'd always left the light on the living room to make the creeper think we were awake. So he saw my car, thought I was home, saw the light on, yet proceeded to cut holes in the screen to break in. I have no idea if he even gained access, but seeing how bold he was terrified me. How long had he been watching me, learning my patterns, and getting gradually more aggressive with every interaction? I still sometimes get a chill when I raise my blinds, and it took me a long time getting comfortable living in anything but a high-rise. This story takes place about 5 years ago. At the time, I was 14 and was a Boy Scout since I was 11. Anyways, it was on summer holidays and we're usually 2 weeks in the wild doing scout stuff. We get to know other groups from other parts of the country. It's generally a good time to meet new people. This time we met with 3 other groups and spent 3 weeks together. For the record, I was with 2 other guys of my group and we shared tents together. The days go on and one of my friends has a crush on a girl. One day he invites her to our tent on the evening to have some fun playing cards and tell jokes. She agreed. On that evening she sneaked up to our tent and came with a friend of hers. Let me introduce you to Mia. Anyways, we had a good time during the night, and a couple hours later they both left. During the time at the camp, a good friend of mine, Lisa, had a crush on Mia who was also into her. It was a happy moment for everyone. The days go on and Mia gets a little weird and talks alone to people who aren't in the camp. As time goes on, rumors say that Mia tried to commit suicide in the forest. Adults were alerted and she was going to get picked up by her parents a couple days later. She was gone for a couple days and everything went back to normal. Little did we know that Mia was back in the camp as other younglings saw her in the forest, saying things in the likes of, "I want to see Lisa," while holding a knife. And at that moment, everybody was scared as crap. The adults decided to dress up a big tent and put us all inside while we waited for Mia to show up. Eventually, she did show up, saw us, and ran straight towards us with a knife in her hand. It happened so quickly, but I still remember it. One of the adults managed to tackle her down and made sure that she wouldn't get up by holding her tight. Another adult made sure to pick up her knife and called the police and her parents. The story comes to a near end as the police took Mia, followed by her parents. It was the last time I saw her. Since then, I only heard from her once. I heard she was diagnosed with schizophrenia and she's in a clinic with people there to help her. Lisa's still traumatized of these events. One thing that bums her is that her name is one letter apart from Mia's name. People sometimes mispronounce it and it makes her recall these events. I live in an apartment with my family, and I'm in a period where I need to focus for my final exams. Today, as usual, I'm sick, so I didn't go to school. I used this free time to practice more for the upcoming tests, and approximately 8 p.m., my father called me and suggested me a car ride in order to spend time with each other. My parents are divorced, so when I'm with my mother, I see him less often than my mother. So I was with my father for like 30 minutes, and it was nice. We arrived in front of a building where I lived with my mother. I said goodbye to him and went towards the building. I pushed the button of the intercom so that my mother opens the door, and I saw a food deliverer with his motorcycle parked just next to me. So here's the problem. I thought he was going to deliver something to a neighbor or something, which was nothing unusual, but there was something off. Firstly, usually deliverers in Morocco have a box where they store the food in order to keep it warm, but this guy didn't have one. He was holding the bag with the food in his hand. Also, he opened his phone like if he was going to check a delivering app, but as I said, he didn't have the box or the logo of a delivering service anywhere on him. So even if my mother unlocked the door, I preferred not to open or talk to the guy. I order from restaurants and fast food a lot, so I'm used to see deliverers and even talk a little bit with them and try to make them laugh. I know that it's a hard job because people being jerks, so I try to be as friendly as possible. So I start by saying hi and "how are you bro" in Moroccan, and the guy was super nice. He had a great smile and a nice way of talking, but he took time before answering me as if he was lagging. But it's okay, it happens. Maybe he was stressed or preoccupied, so nothing to worry about. I asked him what door number is it, and he replied 42. Which is odd because the last door of the building is the 14th, so I told him to check the app, and then I watched his phone even though I'm not next to him, and instead of opening a delivering app, he opened WhatsApp and didn't even open a chat. Then he said door 11, and at this moment I knew something was wrong because I live in a 12th door, so 11th is right next to me, and I'm sure that my neighbor weren't the ones to order because they went on a trip. So then I got a little bit stressed up and told him that it must have been an error because of the reasons that I just told you. But he insisted to go in and told me that he used to deliver at this address and that he knows where he needs to go. He also tells me that the customer knows him and that he asked him to be quick because he liked his food to be as hot as possible. I clearly said to him that I couldn't let him enter the building because I was going to check if the guys of the 11th door were back from their trip, and if so, I was going to let them know that he was there. I also told him that the guard of the building was usually in the cafe next by, and that he could just go talk to him. I also lied to him and told him that my dad was waiting for me, and that I needed to go to the WC for a sec. He was angry at first, but he immediately changed his attitude and became friendly again. I asked him to step aside, and then asked again my mother to unlock the door and entered. I was still nervous, and while I was walking back towards the elevator, I suddenly get really scared because I didn't hear the door close behind. I felt so dumb because I could have closed it by myself, but at this moment I was sure he was entering the building. I immediately start running towards the staircase, and at that same time he tried to throw the bag he was holding at me, but he missed. At this moment I'm thinking really quickly. I have Crohn's disease, which is, to be short, a disease that causes inflammation of the intestines and pain, but according to my doctor, it also explains why I'm an anxious person and why I usually think too much. And so I already thought in the past of a scenario where I needed to hide from something in the building, but I've came to the conclusion that the underground parking garage was the best place, because it was really large due to the fact that it was shared by 4 buildings. So I run towards the staircase and immediately I start going downstairs. I need to say that I'm a pretty tall guy, so it's difficult for me to hide quickly, and so I run and I hear him chasing me. And at this moment I remember that the other buildings have their own doors in the parking lot, so I run towards one of them. I see someone from afar and started screaming, but he didn't react and then entered one of the doors. I go upstairs, open the door of the building and enter the bakery just next to it. Luckily I find the caretaker and explain to him really quickly what was happening. He immediately got out of the bakery and started chasing him, but he was too far away and was running towards his motorcycle, so we couldn't catch him. I was tired of all that running, but strangely I wasn't shocked at all. And still, while writing this, I feel a little bit exited about what happened. I'm definitely not going to tell my parents because otherwise they will forbid me to go out alone or take a taxi. I tried to look out for the bag that he tried to throw at me, but it wasn't there anymore. I know I'm selfish for not calling the police, but I prefer not to worry about it because they never really did anything.